All right, coming back then, we're moving on to the individual texts, and here we have the planes of realization. And so we're going to start on page 392. And this is the second level, the stream entry. And just briefly look at the first of those, the 4 factors leading to stream entry. Remember, he mentioned those just briefly in the introduction. And then going to the second paragraph, association with superior persons is a factor. Hearing the true Dharma is a factor. Careful attention is a factor. And practice in accordance with the Dharma is a factor. So those are the 4 factors. And so then he asks on what is the stream? Okay? The Noble Eightfold Path. What is a stream enterer? One who possesses this Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, so simple answer there. We're going to move on to page 406 then. And so this one is the trainee and the arhat. So this is category number 4, the arhat. And so, and then the second text within that, the trainee and the arhat. Page 406. So this one, the Blessed One addressed the monks. And he's talking to a trainee. And he's saying that I am one beyond training. Woe is me, I'm hopeless. And so then he goes on, he says, here monks is a monk who is a trainee, understands as it really is. This is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. So the Four Noble Truths. So he understands that. This is the method by which a means of which a monk who is a trainee, standing on the plane of a trainee, understands I am a trainee. Again, monks, a monk who is a trainee considers thus, is there outside here another ascetic or Brahmin who teaches the Dharma so real, true, and actual as the Blessed One does? He understands thus, there is no other ascetic or Brahmin outside here who teaches a Brahmin Dharma so real, true, and actual as the Blessed One does. This too is a method by means of which a monk who is a trainee, standing on the plane of a trainee, understands I am a trainee. So if you look at it and you understand that particular designation, that nobody else has anything as comparable to this, then that's recognizing that you're still a trainee. And then he goes on. Again, monks, a monk who is a trainee understands the 5 spiritual faculties: faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. A little bit different list than we typically have seen before. He does not yet dwell, having contacted with the body, that which is their destination, their culmination, their fruit, their final goal, but having pierced it through the wisdom he sees. Thus, too, this too is a method by means of which a monk who is a trainee, standing on the plane of a trainee, understands, I am a trainee. So the key sentence there is that he does not dwell, having contacted with the body, that which is their destination. So he sees it, but he doesn't yet experience it. Okay? So he has a cognitive understanding of it, but he really doesn't have the direct experience. And then we continue on in the next paragraph. And what monks is the method by means of which a monk beyond training, standing on the plane of one beyond training, understands, and so forth. And we have again 5 spiritual faculties of faith and so forth through wisdom, same ones we just looked at. And he dwells having contacted with the body. So now he has the direct experience. So this is, we've gone beyond being a trainee now to one who is beyond training. And so with that wisdom, he sees, I am one beyond training. And then the last paragraph, a monk beyond training understands the 6 faculties, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, and understands that these will cease completely and totally without remainder, and no other 6 faculties will arise. And so once he has this understanding, he also understands, I am one beyond training. Remember, the first 7 levels of this were being in training, and only the final one, the fruition of being an arhat, was the one that it's talking about here as being beyond training. So I think that helps clarify a little bit what is being referred to here. Now we're going to go to page 410. This is the one, the sage at peace. So this is number 7 in parentheses. The sage at peace. The paragraphs are enumerated here. So the first paragraph is number 20. So here the Buddha further addressed Pukusati thus: then, after contemplating the 6 elements, there remains only equanimity, purified and bright, malleable, wieldly, and radiant. He understands thus: if I were to direct this equanimity, so purified and bright, to the base of the infinity of space, sound familiar? Okay, and the formless absorptions, that's one of them. And to develop my mind accordingly, then this equanimity of mind, supported by this base, clinging to it, interesting use of a term here, would remain for a very long time. If I were to direct this equanimity so purified and bright to the base of the infinity of consciousness, okay, also a formless absorption, to the base of nothingness, the third formless absorption, to the base of neither perception nor non-perception, the fourth formless absorption, and to develop my mind accordingly, then this equanimity of mind, supported by this base, clinging to it, would remain for a very long time. He understands thus. And so, kind of skipping another line, this would be conditioned or impermanent. Okay, so the formless absorptions are still considered to be impermanent. And then skipping down about 5 or 6 lines, he says, since he does not construct or generate any volition tending toward either existence or non-existence, he does not cling to anything in this world. Not clinging, he is not agitated. Not being agitated, he personally attains nirvana. And then in the next paragraph, if he feels a pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. There is no holding to it. There is no delight in it. If he feels a painful feeling, the first one was pleasant, now painful, he understands it is impermanent. There is no holding to it. There is no delight in it. And then the third one, if he feels neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands it's impermanent, there's no holding to it, there is no delight to it. So we go through these stages and we begin to see that, and we're able to let go of that, so there's no attachment, no aversion, we transcend that. Paragraph 24. If he feels a pleasant feeling, so we're going back through this again, he feels it detached. If he feels a painful feeling, he feels it detached. If he feels neither painful nor pleasant, he feels it detached. When he feels a feeling terminating with the body, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with the body. And when he feels a feeling terminating with the body, and so forth, and so on, the same as before. And then a few lines down, monk, just as an oil lamp burns in dependence on oil and a wick, and when the oil and wick are used up, it does not get any more fuel. It is exhausted from lack of fuel. So too, when he feels a feeling terminating with the body. Skipping a line, he understands on the dissolution of the body, with the ending of life, all that is felt not being delighted in will become cool right there. So that's the sense of peace. He sometimes just uses that metaphor for peace. Paragraph 25, therefore a monk possessing this wisdom possesses the supreme foundation of wisdom. For this monk is the supreme noble wisdom, namely the knowledge of the destruction of all suffering. So having attained that level, all suffering has been destroyed, basically. Then the next paragraph, 26, his liberation being founded upon truth is unshakable. So when we get to this level, it becomes totally unshakable. That is true which has an undeceptive nature, nirvana. And then in paragraph 27, formerly when he was ignorant, he undertook and accepted acquisitions. Now he has abandoned them, cut them off at the root. And then, so they are no longer subject to future arising. And for this monk is the supreme noble relinquishment, namely the relinquishment of all acquisitions. So we no longer have any greed, we no longer have any attachment, we no longer are grasping at things and so forth. Paragraph 28, formerly when he was ignorant, he experienced covetousness, desire, and lust. Now he has abandoned them, cut them off at the root. Skipping a line, formerly when he was ignorant, he experienced anger, ill will, and hate. Now he has abandoned them. And skipping a couple more lines, formerly when he was ignorant, he experienced ignorance and delusion. Now he has abandoned them. That's a pretty good list there in those different statements. Therefore, a monk possessing this peace possesses the supreme foundation of peace. For this monk is the supreme noble peace, namely the pacification of lust, hate, and delusion, the three poisons. Paragraph 29. So it was with reference to this, it was said, one should not neglect wisdom, should preserve truth, should cultivate relinquishment, should train for peace. So that's a good word to use as kind of a mantra, if you will, as a reminder of what it is that you're moving toward. You just have to be a little bit careful because you don't want to get attached to the concept of peace itself. You want the experience of peace. Number 30, the tides of conceiving do not sweep over one who stands upon these foundations, and when the tides of conceiving no longer sweep over him, he is called a sage at peace, which is the term that he often used for an arhat. Paragraph 31 there, monk, I am is a conceiving. I am this is a conceiving. I shall be is a conceiving. I shall not be is a conceiving, and it goes through a number of other ones there. Conceiving is a disease, not in a literal sense, but certainly metaphorically. By overcoming all conceivings, monk, one is called a sage at peace. And then the tides, 32, the tides of conceiving do not sweep over one who stands upon these foundations, and when the tides of conceiving no longer sweep over him, he is called a sage at peace, which is an arhat. So we'll continue on here in the next page for 13, category 5, the Tathagata. And this one is the Buddha, number 1, the Buddha and the Arhat. So it begins, monks, through disenchantment with form, feeling, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness, the five aggregates, their fading away and cessation, the Tathagata, the arhat, the perfectly enlightened one, is liberated beyond non-clinging. He is called a perfectly enlightened one. Through disenchantment with form, feeling, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness, their fading away and cessation, a monk liberated by wisdom is liberated by non-clinging. He is called one liberated by wisdom. And then monks, what is the distinction between Tathagata, the arhat, the perfectly enlightened one, and a monk liberated by wisdom? And he kind of repeats this again, and then the paragraph that starts, the Tathagata, monks, the arhat, the perfectly enlightened one, is the originator of the path. So all of those titles refer to him as the originator, the producer of the path, the declarer of the path. He is the knower of the path, the discoverer of the path, the one skilled in the path. And his disciples now dwell following that path and become possessed of it afterward. So he was the originator, they are the follower. We are the followers. This monk is the distinction. So there's several titles or terms that are used to describe him, but then just the term arhat is used to describe the followers of those. The second one, number 2 here, for the welfare of many. And so this is the one that refers back to the ideas related to what we see in the path of the Bodhisattva, the path of altruism, but it's part of the Pali Canon here. So I'm going to go through most all of this one. Monks, these 3 persons arise in the world for the welfare of multitude, for the happiness of the multitude, out of compassion for the world, for the good, welfare, and happiness of devas and humans. What 3? So this sounds like it came right out of a Mahayana Sutra. Okay? Here, monks, a Tathagata arises in the world, an arhat, a perfectly enlightened teacher of devas and humans, the enlightened one, the blessed one. He teaches the Dharma that is good at the beginning, good at the middle, good at the end, with the right meaning and phrasing. He reveals the spiritual life that is utterly perfect and pure. This, monks, is the first person that arises in the world for the welfare of the multitude, for the happiness of the multitude, out of compassion for the world, for the good, welfare, and happiness of devas and humans. Then, monks, a disciple of that teacher is an arhat with taints destroyed, completely liberated through final knowledge. He teaches the Dharma that is good at the beginning. He reveals the spiritual life that is utterly perfect and pure. This, monks, is the second person that arises in the world for the welfare the multitude, for the happiness of the multitude, out of the compassion for the world, for the good, welfare, and happiness of devas and humans. Then, monks, a disciple of that teacher is a trainee practicing for the path, learned and endowed with precepts and observances. He too teaches the Dharma that is good at the beginning, and so forth. He reveals the spiritual life that is utterly perfect and pure. This, monks, is the third person that arises in the world for the welfare of the multitude, for the happiness of the multitude, out of compassion for the world, for the good, welfare, and happiness of devas and humans. These, monks, are the 3 persons that arise in the world for the welfare of the multitude, for the happiness of the multitude, out of compassion for the world, for the good, welfare, and happiness of devas and humans. So those are the Tathagata, the arhat, and the trainee. Those are the 3 that he's referring to. But all of them are teaching. Okay? So then, moving on here, let's see, to page 421. 9? 21. And this is number 8 in the series. Why is he called the Tathagata? It's questionable whether the Buddha is actually the speaker in this particular case. It doesn't say that he is anywhere, but it almost reads more like praises to the Tathagata by somebody else. And it doesn't tell us who the person might be that is actually saying these things. The world, monks, has been fully awakened by the Tathagata. The Tathagata is detached from the world. Next line, the Tathagata has abandoned the origin of the world. Next line, the Tathagata has realized the cessation of the world. Next line, the Tathagata has developed the way to the cessation of the world. So those are all things that we just saw in that previous sutra. Skipping the next, in the next paragraph, next paragraph, third line, whatever there is that is seen, heard, sensed, cognized, reached, sought after, examined by the mind, all that has been awakened by the Tathagata, therefore is, he is called the Tathagata. And then the second line in the next paragraph, whatever he speaks, talks of, expounds, all that is just so, not otherwise. Therefore, he is called a Tathagata. As he speaks, monks, so he does. As he does, so he speaks. Therefore, he is called the Tathagata. And then in the next paragraph, third line, the Tathagata is the vanquisher, the unvanquished, the universal seer, the wielder of mastery. Therefore, he is called the Tathagata. So he's giving a list of these different things here. So finally then, there are a series of verses, again, that have this quality of praise about them. Having directly known all the world, all in the world exactly as it is, he is detached from the world, engaged with all the world. He indeed is all-vanquishing sage, the one released from all the knots, who has reached the supreme state of peace, nirvana, without fear from any side. He is the Buddha, with taints destroyed, untroubled, with all doubts cut off, who has attained the destruction of all karma, liberated in the extinction of acquisitions. He is the Blessed One, the Buddha. He is the Lion, unsurpassed. In this world, together with its devas, he set in motion the wheel of Brahma. Thus, those devas and humans who have gone for refuge to the Buddha, having assembled, pay homage to him, the Great One, free from diffidence. Tamed, he is supreme among those who tame. At peace, he is the sage among those who bring peace. Freed, he is the chief of those who set free. Delivered, he is the best of those who deliver. Thus, indeed, they pay homage to him, the Great One, free from diffidence. If this world together with its devas, there is no one who can rival you. So that concludes the book here from Bhikkhu Bodhi, and a sampling of the sutras from the Pali Canon. There's much more than that available, but it gives us a good feel for that and what is there. And I like the fact that it points out elements that are not just unique to the Pali Canon, that they go across the board, and you can see it in the Mahayana, in the Vajrayana, and so forth. So it appears that perhaps in the practitioners of the Pali Canon have maybe been a little bit selective in which ones they choose to follow, but the essence of what's in the others are also there in that very same series. So when we continue on, we're going to be looking at a book called The Teachings of the Compassionate Buddha. And it makes a direct comparison of some of the sutras in the Pali Canon to sutras in Sanskrit. And so we'll be making some of those comparisons as we move on in the class.